Jennifer?
Hi.
Hey, I think Provost Lounsbury, Wichita State, may not be able to make the meeting today. So if she's not here, I will be filling in for her. So just so we know for a roll call.
Okay, I'll make note of that. Thank you.
You.
morning, everyone. I am showing 10 o'clock, so I will go ahead and call this BASC meeting to order. Jennifer, could you please do roll call for us?
Regent Mendoza,
Present.
Regent Johnston,
Here.
Regent Prasker,
Good morning. I'm here.
and Kathy Wolfmore is absent today. And then presenting, we have Provost Susan Bond from Pittsburgh State University. She's not on yet. And Linnea Glenn May is filling in for Provost Monica Lounsbury from Wichita State University.
Here.
And Sam Christie Dangermond
Here.
and Misty Knox.
I'm here.
Great, that concludes roll.
Thank you. As a reminder, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and we also ask that anyone wishing to speak, please state their name before speaking during the meeting. Do we have any introductions this morning? Okay, hearing none, we do have quite a hefty agenda today, so we will go ahead and get started. I'm not sure if we need to skip down to maybe item 2C, since Provost Bond is not on yet this morning. I don't see her. Let's go ahead and start with item 2C, the applied behavior analysis.
All right. Thank you very much, and good morning. I'm Linnea Glenn May, filling in for Provost Lounsbury. We're very pleased to present 3 new programs today for your review. The first is the Master of Education in Applied Behavior Analysis. To provide an overview of the program, we have the Dean of the College of Applied Studies, Dr. Jennifer Friend, and Dr. Angela Beeler from the Department of Intervention Services and Leadership in Education. So I will turn it over to Dean Friend.
Thank you. I'm Jennifer Friend, Dean in the College of Applied Studies, and I am happy to introduce Dr. Angie Beeler from the School Psychology to share information about the Masters in Applied Behavioral Analysis.
Hi, everyone. I am Angela Beeler. Thank you for the time to discuss this master's degree with you guys today. This program would be a master's in education in applied behavior analysis. We currently do have a ABA certificate that's been running since 2019. We use those certificate courses, the 21 credit hours, to start the development of this program. And we added 2 courses from the school psych program and then created 3 new courses to make the cluster of 36 credit hours for this master's in ABA. Since we're already using primarily courses that are being taught, we are not asking for any additional faculty hires for this program to be successful. And the primary goal of this program is really to be able to serve students by providing a degree option that relates directly to the field that they're wanting to work in. So currently what we're seeing is students will complete that certificate program, but then choose a master's degree or higher in a related field in order to sit for their exam. So by having a master's in ABA, the students will actually be able to complete a degree in behavior analysis and take their exam for behavior analysis to become a board certified behavior analyst. And so another benefit is we did develop this program in order to get a master's degree and then go on to get your EDS in school psychology if our students would like to do that as well and have both credentials. So they still have the option to go on, but would be able to have a job, take their exam, have a job in the field, and have both credentials. So the training of this program is really going to primarily focus on school professionals and community service providers to address challenging behaviors in K through 12 students, but also to providers that provide services for individuals with neurodevelopmental disabilities. As far as the job market is concerned for board certified behavior analysts, we are seeing that there is support for needing this program because the job market is increasing. So in 2023 alone, the job market increased by 14% nationwide. And in Kansas from 2022 to 2023, the job market doubled or the job postings doubled. And currently right now, if you were to go on even Indeed.com, there's over 450 job postings for BCBAs and related fields. So that I think is my overview of the program. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Thank you for going over that. Do we have any questions from the committee?
Chair Mendoza, I do not have any questions. This is good information. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I did have a question. You mentioned you're not adding, I'm sorry, you mentioned it, but I just want to clarify the courses. Those are just being added to a program, or you're not adding any additional courses?
Okay, yes, great question. We are adding 3 courses to have this program. So we do have that certificate program, and we're taking those courses and then pulling 2 from our school psych EDS program, and then we're creating 3 new courses.
Okay, so what does that do for the workload of the staff overseeing this program?
Yes, so we have 2 board certified behavior analyst adjuncts right now that we have working on our certificate program. And so they would take the 3 courses that were created, and it wouldn't change the course load from faculty because we all currently teach in those certificate courses and in the school psych program. So we would maintain the courses we teach now.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, I would entertain a motion to send this to the full board for approval.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. I'm going to go back now to approval of the minutes. I was so excited to get started on all of these programs that I forgot to do the approval of the minutes, which seems to happen often, so I apologize. Are there any questions about the minutes or any clarification before we make a motion here? Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve.
I move we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right, we will go ahead and move to the Master of Science in Forensic Biology.
Thank you. We have 2 Master of Science programs to bring to you today, the MS in Forensic Biology and the MS in Forensic Firearms. Would you prefer to have the programs presented separately for vote, or would you like our presenter to present both of them? It's up to you.
I think we need to have them separately so that we
Okay.
can
Okay.
vote. If there's items that kind of cross over, that's fine.
All right. So to provide an overview of the first program, the Forensic Biology program, we have the Associate Dean of the Fairmont College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, Dr. Brian Bolin, and Dr. Yumi Suzuki, the Interim Program Director of the Forensic Programs in the Department of Criminal Justice. So I will turn it over to Associate Dean Bolin.
Welcome, everybody. And we have 2 new exciting programs to talk about in the Fairmont College of Liberal Arts and Sciences offered through our School of Criminal Justice. These were developed in coordination with alcohol, tobacco, and some of our new partnerships we have developed with them. And I'm going to turn this over to Yumi Suzuki, Dr. Yumi Suzuki, to talk about first the Masters of Science in Forensic Biology, and then she will discuss the Masters of Science in Forensic Firearms.
Thank you, Dr. Bolin. We have emphasized increasing education and training for law enforcement agencies, and which has created partnerships at the local, state, and federal levels. And these programs, proposed programs, focus on applied learning experiences in the ATF lab and create a talent pipeline to various forensic labs, which I believe we have over 300 labs nationwide. We expect students in forensic science, criminal justice, anthropology, biology, and chemistry to be pursuing a master's degree in forensic biology, which has 34 credit hours. We anticipate about 25 students to be enrolled in the first year and 30 students in the second and third years. The rest of the statements I have prepared is really for firearms program, so I will kind of stop here.
Are there any questions from the committee?
I did have one question, Regent Mendoza. This is Alicia Johnston. I was curious about, I know that forensics biology, I may be wrong about this, but was something that was approved by Fort Hays last year, maybe? And we talked a little bit about the demand in the state of Kansas. I was just wondering if you could give me some information on what the demand for forensic biology is in the labs that we have here in Kansas, the law enforcement labs.
I believe this is kind of related to forensic firearms. All these kind of forensic positions are in demand. And I will kind of discuss a little bit later for the forensic firearms, but forensic biology is also in demand. And because of the ATF forensic lab is opening early next year, we expect that the forensic jobs in these regional, state, federal level labs will be kind of optimal position for graduates to be in.
But there, you don't really have any hard data on that.
That's
all right. You don't
Okay.
have to do it now. Maybe if we could just get, provide some hard data on that, it would be helpful.
Okay.
Maybe it would be helpful if we just go ahead and speak about the two programs together since they go together. Maybe that'll answer some of our questions. Do you want to go ahead and talk about both of those?
Okay, so the Masters in Forensic Firearms will, I mentioned about the shortage in the firearms examiners already. So we have 3 tracks in the curriculum-wise. Traditional track where we admit students without knowledge or skills, they will complete 30 credit hour curriculum. And second and third, we have trainees track, which are for those who are currently in the law enforcement agencies doing the firearm examination. And the third one is for certified firearm examiners who will wish to participate in a graduate degree programs. So these folks, the last 2 tracks, they will complete 18 credit hours at WSU and 12 credit hours will count as CPR credits after completing a national training program. And for firearm programs, we anticipate that 24 students will enroll in the examiner track in the first year. In the second year, 24 will enroll also in the examiner track, 16 in the trainee track, and 10 traditional students. And in the third year, 10 traditional students will enroll and additional 10 will continue into the second year. And also 24 students in examiner track and 16 in trainee tracks. And I already mentioned about the anticipating ATF forensic lab opening on a campus. So that'll probably boost the employment demand. So that's why we're expecting those graduates who have an optimal position to be enrolled at any level of forensic labs.
Chair Mendoza, I have a question if,
Yep,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Couple things, and maybe 2 questions, I would say. On the follow-up questions on the labs, are we expecting the labs to be exposed to any other work other than just the masters? Because it looks like there is an expense surrounding the labs.
Are we
Fee.
talking about kind of applied experience for
Yeah.
students? Or yes. ATF will open up their lab to students and our faculty members. So they will have a collaborative assignments and activities.
Got it. Okay. My second question is, I'm going through the curriculum for the masters, and maybe I may not know the details about this particular requirement, but any forensic or data-driven information, isn't that would that be better for students to also expose to some kind of a data analytics kind of a information within the curriculum? Just a thought. I'm definitely not an expert in this area,
Yes,
so
I agree. Yes, I agree. I believe we have capstone and research courses that will implement sort of kind of research component and match it with kind of professional demand. So I believe that's the capstone and research classes that will emphasize those things.
got it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Mendoza.
Mhm.
This is Alicia, and I did have a couple questions. So the master's program is an additional 18 hours, correct? Is
For
that what,
those with, yes, those with firearm experience and already certified firearm examiners.
for certified firearm examiners? And then you said 12 of that counts towards the national certification. And so is 12 the requirement to receive the national certification, or do they have to take additional hours? So the 12 hours, so basically there's another 7 hours for the master's on top of the national certification. Is that kind of how it
The
works?
total credit hours, yes, 30, and 18 will be completed at WSU, and
Oh,
12 will be transferred evidently from the national training program as
oh, I see.
exam
Okay.
credits. Yeah,
So that's where that they're, okay, I got you. All right, so they take 12 for the national training program and those transfer into, so it's not that the 12 hours that are taken at WSU count towards the national certification. You transfer those to WSU.
yes,
I got you. Thank you.
thank you.
So I also had a question. Within this information, you have listed that there's 320 labs across the nation. Is that correct?
Yes,
And they received about 3 million requests in the year 2020 for
right.
this type of work. How many of those labs are in the state of Kansas?
Ooh, that I will have to look it up.
I thought that might help with Regent Johnston's question a little bit. Are there any other questions about these two programs? I know that I believe there were some questions from Fort Hays with the Masters in Forensics Firearms, I believe, but looks like there's a letter that kind of answered some of those questions. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, Regents, any other questions? Okay, so I think we will, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, my only concern is just to, and I may have missed it, to see a bit more data on basically demand for the graduates in the program. I mean, I'm sure it is, high, but it is something that I think we need to look at, and that information maybe was there and I missed it. So
I went through it as well and I didn't see those numbers. How would it affect the program if we tabled this until our next meeting in order to maybe provide some time to gather some of that data, or could it be gathered before the next meeting?
Well, I'm sure that we could provide whatever data is requested. I would say, though, that these programs came out of a very close relationship with ATF, who was involved in actually helping to lay out the needs for these programs in terms of current employees who need to have the graduate degree. So we expect that there will be already certified agents who, because of the needs laid out by the agency for graduate level practitioners, that the program was designed to a large extent to meet the need that they had already identified for these graduate level examiners. So I'm not sure if Dr. Bolin has some additional information about that, because we did look at the demand in general also.
We
Linnea.
have a we do
Oh,
have a
sorry.
statement. Oh, sorry. We do have a statement in the proposal that states that over 200 individuals that have already completed the nationally recognized training in the field of firearms forensics were asked about would they be interested in this degree. Out of those 200, over half of those said yes, they would be very interested in this degree program. So as part of our research into who would be interested, individuals that are currently firearms examiners that are needing to complete a master's, over half of those did indicate they would be interested in our program if developed here at Wichita State.
Regent Mendoza,
Yeah, go ahead.
if I may. I appreciate that. So I think Linnea and Brian, what I missed is that, so basically with your work with ATF, they're saying that they already have these folks employed and
Yes.
that they're needing to get this additional certification and
Yes.
masters. And so basically what we're talking about, I think that's the piece that I missed, and so I appreciate it. So basically we're not, for the most part, we're not talking about folks that are not already employed in the industry. Would that be correct?
We are talking, some of these individuals that are already employed in the industry need to complete their master's degrees to advance within their career.
Gotcha.
So over 200 of those individuals were contacted, asked would they be interested in completing a master's in firearms here at Wichita State using our partnerships with the labs. And half of those responded yes, they would be interested in doing our degree here. So we do have a pipeline of individuals that are interested in coming and completing their degree here at Wichita State.
Thank you.
Dean Bolin, you mentioned the 200 individuals that had more than half of them had expressed interest in this program. Is that in addition to the 64 surveys that were completed?
Yes, that is in addition to.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from the committee? Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with the Master of Science in Forensic Biology. I would entertain a motion to approve.
I can move.
I would second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, perfect. Motion passes. Okay, so we'll go on to the Master of Science in Forensic Firearms. Would entertain a motion to approve.
This is Alicia, and I would
Uh-huh.
move that we approve the program, but maybe we could in the future see. I understand, I think I understand better on my questions about those folks that are already employed. But I do remember that with Fort Hays, we had several concerns about adding this program in terms of what the actual demand was. And so that gives me somewhat of a pause, but I would still move that we approve the program.
Okay, just for further clarification, there is a letter from Fort Hays on this program, Regent Johnston. I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at
Yeah,
that. They were in support of it, but just had some clarification
right. I
they
saw that.
needed. So, okay. Okay, so do I have a second?
I can second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Motion passes there as well. Do we have Provost Vaughn on? Yeah, okay. So we will go back up to hear about the supply chain management program.
Thank you so much, and please forgive my delay joining this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and present the supply chain management, and I'll pause and then entertain questions for that and then go into the industrial, although I'll explain that they are a very interrelated degree pathway for our students. So supply chain management, as some might know, our location in the southeastern region puts us in quite close proximity to some major partners in industry, such as Watco. An hour and a half away is Walmart, and a couple of other industrial partners who benefit from hiring students who have this skill set in supply chain management. Given that and the ability to partner between Kels College of Business, where sort of the traditional management expertise lies, and working with our Crossland College of Technology, where the industrial distribution expertise lies, they were able to create these two separate programs that share a core of 27 courses. So it enabled a program that is really highly efficient and in fact providing skilled graduates who will transition into this industry and sector with these high efficiencies, but also kind of two unique skill sets. One in the management area, which is a growing trend. I think their market showed there was going to be a 38% need for specialists in this space, giving partly our location here in the southeastern Kansas region and Kansas writ large, the centrality of that to our country. And then also with the industrial distribution side, there was a similar about 19% interest in having folks with those technical skills and expertise. So the College of Business Dean and the College of Crossland Dean and directors worked really closely to put together these two programs. And I'm happy to take any additional questions that might be specifically. I'll start with the supply chain management in Kels College of Business and then answer any questions there.
Any questions from the committee? I did have one question. So it's similar to the one that I presented to WSU, where you're not adding additional workload to professors. You're just kind of reassigning into existing positions, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I don't know, Regents, would you like to hear about the next one before we go into approving the programs as they kind of go together, or?
Either way, I'm good
Okay.
with either way. I don't know what about you, Nalima?
I think going together is better so that we can put everything in one place. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, Provost Vaughn, if you would go on to industrial distribution.
Okay, yes. And pardon my scrolling to find my notes about industrial distribution. So industrial distribution out of our Crossland College of Technology is building on some existing programming in the college and expanding it to ensure that we have, one, a tighter connection to realizing how industrial distribution works with the logistics side and the supply chain side. And these individuals, our data shows, are in high demand, again, because of the Southeast region. And they're in particular going to meet those growing need for managers and for individuals with that technology background that we have as a strength in the College of Technology. That technology background will enable them to be efficiency experts, to be very valuable assets to our industry partners. For example, the Watcos and Walmarts that are in our region and other businesses that might want to come into this region and will need those kinds of skill sets. Things like this program, I guess I would say, is relatively low cost. We have some capacity in both of our colleges, so they're sharing that 27 core hours, and then each student will have an opportunity to then go into wherever their strengths lie and their interests lie in either college. And we believe that this space is growing, and there is clear evidence of demand based on our evaluation of the region. So I'll stand for questions about industrial distribution.
Thank you, Provost Vaughn. Are there any questions from the committee?
I do not.
I might add that we're also really pleasantly surprised by these two degree paths is they have consistently had higher than our other students' outgoing salaries. So as our students are graduating, we're noticing that their opportunities out in the workforce are going to be higher paid jobs. So we're also very excited about that for our students.
Thank you. Okay, if there aren't any questions, then I will go back to the Bachelor's of Business Administration and Supply Chain Management. And I would entertain a motion to approve that and send it on to the board consent agenda.
So moved.
And I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Motion passes. And then
Thank
I will move on to, I would entertain a motion to approve the Bachelor of Science in Industrial Distribution.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right. That one passes as well. Thank you, Provost Vaughn.
Thank you so much.
All right, we will move on to a discussion from Sam Christie Dangermond on the KU, KUMC, and KSU annual program review.
Thank you, Regent Mendoza. We wanted to provide some background on program review for Basque members and also for anybody who is newer to this process, because there's been a history. And what I'm hoping is that this will help set Basque members up for the university presentation scheduled for May 14th. So I will launch into this. Previously, universities were on an 8-year cycle during which they would review each of their degree programs at least once. For several years leading up to 2022, universities could recommend to do one of 5 things as a result of the review. They could recommend to continue the program, enhance it, monitor and do additional review for up to 4 years, discontinue it, or merge it with another program. An important change to program review occurred in June of 2018 when the board approved changes to the policy, adding a strategic program alignment process where the board could direct state universities to conduct a strategic program alignment review outside of and in addition to the 8-year program review cycle. And as you can see, in 2020 and 2021, this resulted in a total of 22 programs being discontinued and 11 being merged. And again, this was done outside of that regular 8-year program review cycle. In early 2022, the board commissioned the RPK group to do an academic portfolio review and an academic resource utilization study. And over the course of the year, RPK group worked with university and board staff to analyze program data. The resulting report took the place of program review in 2023. That work provided some of the foundation for the current framework adopted later that same year, and we will go over that current framework in more detail shortly. However, 2024 was the first year of the current cycle, and for that year, another look was taken at all undergraduate programs and additional metrics were put into place. So for 2024, universities were required to review any undergraduate program missing the minimum threshold on 2 or more of the 4 criteria. Those criteria are listed on pages 83 and 84 of today's agenda. Universities were to provide one of 3 recommendations: either phase out the program, merge it, or place the undergraduate program on an action plan and review and monitor that program for no longer than 3 years. So ultimately, 31 programs were reviewed, 19 were put on an action plan, 7 were placed on an action plan with a proviso stipulating that at least 3 of the 4 metrics must be met by July 1 of 2027. And the board also requires an update on these 7 programs after 1.5 to 2 years. So that's going to be sometime between December of this year and May of next year. Finally, 3 programs were to be merged with other programs and 2 were to be phased out as a result of last year's review. So again, the current framework was approved by the board in June of 2023, and that includes this schedule that you see. This year, K-State, KU, and KU Medical Center will report on program review. Next year, Wichita State will report. And in 2027, Emporia State, Fort Hays State, and Pittsburgh State will report. The fourth year, 2028, BASC is to evaluate the effectiveness of the current framework. And then finally, 1 year after its regular review, each university is to provide an update on the status of each program being phased out, merged, or put on an action plan. So let's take a look at the metrics. These two metrics are both new this year, and they fall under the affordability category of the family pillar of the strategic plan. And since they're new and data have not been analyzed up to this point, minimum criteria have not been established. The first metric is the percentage of full-time junior and senior students in the major who enrolled in at least 30 hours a year or who graduated. This metric is a reflection of what would be considered on-time graduation for undergraduate programs only, as students who take fewer than 30 hours a year presumably would not be able to complete the typical 120 required hours within a 4-year period. The second metric is the maximum number of transfer credit hours from two-year colleges that would apply toward the given bachelor's program. We asked universities to look at all requirements for each undergraduate program and assess how many of those hours could possibly transfer, with the understanding that this is going to vary among different programs. And this metric is intended to help with understanding commonalities and differences among various programs. And still under that family pillar, we have the two metrics reflecting success. The first is the number of students in each program with a minimum 4-year average of 25 juniors and seniors for undergraduate programs, 12 students in the master's programs, and 5 in the doctoral. The second metric is a look at return on investment, or median wage data for bachelor's graduates 5 years after graduation. The minimum wage for comparison purposes is $40,800, and that is 280% of that 2023 federal poverty level. We ask you to note that students who immediately pursue graduate studies after graduating with a bachelor's degree are excluded from this metric. Then under completion, we look at the number of students completing programs at each level, with minima set at 10 completions for bachelor's programs, 5 for master's, and 2 for doctoral programs. However, one of the recently approved changes was that if a program is offered at both the master's and doctoral levels, the number of students enrolled and the number of completions can be reviewed as a single program. And another change approved was that interdisciplinary programs without a departmental structure are exempted from minimum requirements for numbers of students enrolled and numbers of completions. And then finally, another new metric where a minimum has not been established is the junior graduation rate, and that is the percentage of full-time undergraduate junior students majoring in the fall of a given year who graduated within 3 years with a bachelor's degree in the given program. Then under the business pillar, looking at the talent pipeline, we look at the percentage of bachelor's program completers employed in the region, and that's Kansas or Missouri, within 1 year after graduating, or who immediately pursue graduate studies after graduating with a bachelor's degree. The minimum percentage set for this metric is at 51%. And looking at workforce needs, the final metric, or really it's just a requirement, is a narrative from each university on how multiple programs at that university meet critical economic needs of the state. And I'm thinking this might be the most important slide of all. For this cycle, universities were asked to provide a copy of their academic program review policies and procedures, data on the metrics shown in the last 3 slides, which was a group effort with KBOR's Data Research and Planning Unit, who did a lot of work on this to get it up to readable and understandable. And the verbal report should include a description of the program review process and examples of how the process was successful and how it could be improved for the future. And then finally, we asked the universities to list any programs they've identified to phase out, merge, or put on an action plan. K-State will have that submitted by the May 14 meeting, and the KU and KU Medical Center program lists are included in the last tab of the data linked in the issue paper, with some information also provided in the narratives. And I would like to emphasize that I think for this program review cycle, the focus was intended to be on the program review narratives and information provided in the verbal reports. This framework and these requirements were approved by the board in 2023, and they did not include a minimum number of metrics required to be met. But institutions did use the metrics and the data to conduct their reviews and to make recommendations on any actions for specific programs. So to summarize, K-State reviewed 219 programs, and recommendations will be provided by the May 14 meeting. KU reviewed 247 programs, and of those, they recommend phasing out 2, merging 2, and putting 5 on action plans. The Medical Center reviewed 51. They've moved 1 master's program to another department to help align with accreditation needs, and they recommend phasing out 1 master's program. And that particular piece of information was not included in the issue paper, but it will be reflected in the paper for the May 14 agenda. That was my omission. Apologies for that. They also provided additional information on 14 other programs, which is included in the data spreadsheet. So finally, we'll look at next steps. We ask that BASC members continue to review the data as needed and the narratives linked on page 87 of the agenda. One other correction I need to mention, the number of master's students in genetics for K-State is marked as not meeting the minimum of 12. However, when combined with the doctoral program, it does exceed 12. The red font for this metric and program will be changed to black for the May 14 meeting to indicate that that metric is met. So K-State, KU, and KU Medical Center will present their verbal reports to BASC at the May 14 meeting and to the full board at the June 11 meeting. That concludes my remarks on program review. And at this point, if it pleases the chair, I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions on the program review?
Chair Mendoza, I just have a comment. Sam, you've done an excellent job going through the entire information, so I appreciate that. There's a lot of information that we need to digest to understand a little more about it, as you know. The aspect that caught my eye that I wanted to ask is when a university is removing certain programs, do they give us a reason why they did, or is it a culmination of many factors that they didn't match?
I believe they provide sound reasoning, and usually it is a combination of several things. It could be low enrollment or low completions. It could be a number of many things, but
Right.
historically, typically they will provide sound reasoning for that.
Okay. I can see KU not having to remove a lot of, those programs because their enrollment is increasing and there is a good data there that students are increasing there. On the K-State, we have seen decline on the students. And so when the students are declining, can we match that decline data to the programs that are also declining? Is there a way that we can put both in 2 and 2 together?
The first premise, when you say the K-State students are declining, do you mean overall enrollments?
Yes.
I could talk to our data unit to see if they could help come up with something. I'm not sure if we've considered that before.
Yeah, I don't want to create extra work for people, but I want to put the results of what we are doing to the outcomes. And so, aside from looking at the metrics and looking at how we want them to review the programs, we also have second metrics of how many students are enrolling overall and all, for the university, and how is that decreasing, and why we need this particular program review to be done to match up with the current status of the university. So if it's not too much of a trouble, I think putting both data on the student enrollment and to the program review, it really gives a holistic ROI kind of a system.
So I think this might be a situation where we could basically just make a comparison of overall enrollment. And then I think it would probably be appropriate for us to then defer to the university to comment on that. Would that work for you?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, are there any other questions for Sam? Thank you, Sam, for that thorough report. As many times as I have gone over this, it always helps to review it, and I always, now I remember that piece. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
If there aren't any other questions or comments, we will move on to Misty Knox to hear about credit for prior learning annual report.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. I first want to start by thanking DRP for gathering the data I'm presenting today, not only for the credit for prior learning, but also the dual credit report. And also thank the institutions for submitting that data to us. I'll let Jennifer cue up the slides here. This report today for the credit for prior learning is going to reveal a significant increase in the number of students receiving credit for prior learning and a slight decrease in the number of credit hours awarded in 2024. State universities in 2024 predominantly received credit for prior learning credit for advanced placement. Community colleges, it was for military experience, and technical colleges for institutional exams. Next slide. Credit for prior learning is credit awarded for learning gained outside of the traditional post-secondary classroom and is aligned with learning outcomes for existing courses at each institution. Next slide. K-Board tracks 15 different types of credit for prior learning, as you can see before you. Next slide. We're going to begin by reviewing data on credit hours awarded first, followed by an overview of student headcount, and then conclude with a look at the types of credit awarded for prior learning. So this slide presents the credit hours awarded by sector. We'll then break down this data looking at the universities, at community colleges, and the technical colleges. There was 952 less credit hours awarded compared to last year. Our state universities were down 1,274 credits. Municipal University was down 136 credits. Community colleges were up 626 credits, and technical colleges were down 168 credits. Next slide. So these are the credit hours awarded by our state universities. Fort Hays and KU lead in the number of credit hours awarded for credit for prior learning, as you can see there. When we compare this data with last year, Pitt State, KU, and Wichita State all saw increases, again, compared to that prior year. Next slide. This slide, you're going to see the credit hours awarded by community colleges in 2024. Barton awards a substantially higher amount of credit for prior learning credit. The institutions increasing compared to prior year were Barton, Butler, Garden, Highland, Hutch, Independence, Neosho, Pratt, and Seward. In total, you see there are 11,688 credits awarded by our community colleges. Next slide. For our technical colleges, WSU Tech awards the most credit for prior learning credit. MATC and WSU Tech experienced an increase in credit awarded compared to prior year, with a total of 1,737 credit hours awarded by technical colleges. Next slide. We see on this slide a year-over-year comparison of the credit hours awarded, showing a slight decrease from the previous year, but an overall increase when we compare to the previous 5 years. Next slide. Next slide. We'll now move to the headcount for the system. Again, looking at these numbers by sector, there was an increase of 212 students when we compare to prior year, with a total number of students receiving credit for prior learning in 2024 at 8,469. Next slide. For our universities, As you see there, Fort Hays has the most students receiving credit for prior learning in 2024, followed by KU. K-State, KU, and Wichita State all increased from prior year on the number of students who receive credit for prior learning. Next slide. Here again, head count by community colleges, a few highlights for you. Barton has awarded credit for prior learning to 374 students in 2024, followed by Johnson County with 175 students. In total, you see 1,197 community college students in 2024 receive credit for prior learning credit. Next slide. See here the head count by community colleges. WSU Tech leading the way, awarding 393 students with credit for prior learning in 2024. In total, there 509 technical college students received credit for prior learning credit. When we compare to last year, MATC, Fort Hays Tech, North Central, and WSU Tech all increased from prior year. Next slide. Moving now to the year-to-year comparison for headcount. So in 2024, students who were awarded credit for prior learning received an average of 9 to 10 credit hours each. You can see that there on the bottom level of this table. This slight decrease in credit hours awarded for students is consistent with what I mentioned previously. The number of students taking credit for prior learning increased, but the number of credit hours awarded has decreased. Next slide. Right here we see the credit hours awarded by type. As I mentioned in the second slide, there's 12 types that KBOR tracks. Our state universities in 2024 predominantly were awarding credit for prior learning for advanced placement, community colleges for military experience, and then technical colleges for institutional exams. Next slide. And here we see the year-to-year comparison looking at the credit for prior learning types. There was an increase, as you can see, in AP and military credits, while IB and then also industry recognized credentials and institutional exams saw declines when we compared the year over year. Next slide. There's also posted on the website AP and CLEP reports. We receive these annually, and they really are very indicative of the extent that AP and CLEP has grown over time or changed over time. I kind of disaggregated that data here for you. Just keep in mind the reports on the KBOR website are cover this in extent in about 5 pages. So a condensed version here for AP, you can see for on the left column there, looking at AY 2024, our 2-year colleges and 4-year institutions saw an increase in the number of test takers for AP, as well as the number of exam scores reported. And then our KBOR policy for AP awards credit at the 3 score and above. So again, over the last 3 years, really seeing an increase year over year for AP in all areas. Looking down now at CLEP, you can see there the number of test takers for 4-year on the left. In the center column, number of test takers for 2-year institutions, and then state of Kansas on the right. So going from the number of test takers, we're up not only for 4-year, but 2-year, but also the state of Kansas. And then also for the number of exam scores sent. Our 4-year institutions were down 14%, 2-year institutions were up by 6%. and then down statewide, not only for the number of exam scores sent, but also the scores of 50 or above, which based on KBOR policy is again where that CLEP award, where they receive the credit. The next slide, the Credit for Prior Learning Task Force has been meeting to discuss the process of aligning credit for prior learning credits with system-wide transfer courses. We just began this work, and it's really just to provide a quick update. We're starting with looking at the AP English and AP Math, and we'll be providing more information starting in the fall on just really narrowing down a process to start that alignment piece to the system-wide transfer courses. There's also a group of individuals from the Credit for Prior Learning Task Force who are collaborating with workforce development staff to explore military-originated credit. So they're going to better understand some strategies to promote these credits in awards as well. Here you see under the Academic Affairs tab, there's Credit for Prior Learning. In-depth reports are located on this page. If you're curious to understand more or want to dive more into institutional numbers, there's a great deal of information located on our website. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you, Misty. Are there any questions from the committee?
Chair Mendoza, I just did have one quick question, clarification. Misty, on AP, when students transfer or when, they get prior credit for AP courses, and I suppose that's true of I guess it'd be true of a lot of the credit for prior learning, they don't receive a grade, right? It just goes as a credit without a grade, pass, fail. Is that right?
Yeah, it's usually reported to us as pass-fail.
I was just curious, because sometimes, I hear people talk about that, and I think that students maybe don't always realize that, it certainly doesn't I guess it doesn't hurt or help your GPA when it's like that. But it's an interesting thing versus, a transfer. And I assume that's true of all credit for prior learning. It just basically it comes in as a pass-fail. Is that the case?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Misty? Misty, I did have one question. You mentioned the numbers for Barton County Community College. They're significantly higher than the rest. Do you know what that's attributed to? Do you elaborate on that?
I don't know if we have a representative from Barton on the call that could elaborate on that. I actually have that same question and plan to understand that further as well. And I'll report back to you as soon as I have that, unless somebody, again, from Barton can articulate further.
I am not from Barton. My name is Seth Carter from Colby Community College. Barton is stationed at Fort Riley, so they're providing credit for prior learning to those military members for a variety based on whatever their MOC is or anything to that effect. That's why they have such a higher proportion amount than anyone else.
Thank you. That makes sense. All right. Any other questions for Misty? Okay, I think Misty, you are still on for the next item, the dual credit annual report.
Yeah, thank you. Both of these presentations, again, are located on the website, just uploaded this morning. So links are current, not only for the credit for prior learning, but also the dual credit report. There's actually two reports located on the website. One is a table version of the dual credit by concurrent, dual, and Excel and CTE, and then this report that I'm providing here. So every year we provide an update of the Kansas high school enrollment in post-secondary courses. In academic year 2024, over 38,000 Kansas high school students enrolled in concurrent, dual, or Excel and CTE courses from public post-secondary institutions in our system. Next slide. The Kansas Higher Education Statistics KeyStats, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, it's a web-based reporting tool for providing access to data about our Kansas public institutions. It includes a specific tab for high school students. There is a plethora of information on there. Students included in the reports fall into 3 categories, as I mentioned, the concurrent enrollment, dual enrollment, and then also Excel and CTE. I'll just provide a little bit of context here before I dive into the data. Concurrent enrollment is when high school teachers teach courses during the regular high school day through an agreement between a post-secondary institution and a school district. And then dual enrollment is when high school students take courses directly from a post-secondary institutions where the faculty from the institution is teaching the course via different modalities that could be online, on campus, or other locations. As far as Excel and CTE, this is an initiative that started in 2012. It's a state-funded college tuition for approved technical courses for high school students. Next slide. Again, this data is taken directly from our KeyStats website. Again, thank you for DRP for standing up this page, a ton of information. And so I took screenshots to provide to y'all today directly from KeyStats. If you want to dive into this data further, certainly a plethora of information. To navigate to this data, you'll just go to the high school tab. As I've mentioned, you can export the data in charts, tables, however is most convenient for you. There's a number of filters to sort, drop-down menus, just a very robust page. All right, next slide. First, we're going to look at the past 10 years, starting with 2013 through 2018 on the head count of students who enrolled in some form of dual credit. As you can see, high school enrollment steadily increased over the years. Now let's look on the next slide at enrollment data from 2019 to 2024. So in 2023, we surpassed the pre-COVID enrollment levels, as you see. And then in 2024, we reached a record high with over 38,000 students participating in some form of dual credit. Next slide. Slide's going to provide an overview of each sector's high school enrollment numbers, again, based on head count. And then the following slides are going to provide institutional data within each sector. So for AY 2024, the state universities provided 6.8% of the high school enrollments. Washburn provided 2.4% to make a total of 9.1% at our universities. And then community colleges are at 64%, with technical colleges at 26.9%. Next slide. Here we see the trends for university enrollment numbers on the far right. Let's look at the one-year change numbers. So we're comparing again to the 2023 numbers. When we compare to the previous year, the head count and high school enrollments at public four-year institutions increased by 17.96%. Next slide. The community colleges have the highest enrollment in both credit hours and head count. They provide the most support for our high school students in the dual credit space. The institutions with the most significant increase in head count compared to the previous year, again, looking at that one-year change on the far right, we have Barton at 15.9%, Garden at 13.5%, KCK at 11.6%, Seward at 11.1%. Next slide. System-wide increase was at 6% for the 5-year change. So certainly increasing community colleges. Thanks for your work in that space. Technical colleges have the second highest enrollment in both credit hours and head count for high school students. Notable increases from prior year include the Fort Hays Tech North Central at a 20.3 increase, followed by WSU Tech at a 10.7% increase. System-wide increase, again, 6.2%. So again, exciting increases around dual credit. Next slide. Now we're breaking down this data here, again, directly exported from KeyStats. This is looking at the race ethnicity. The headcount percentages show the largest racial group is white, followed by Hispanic, with unknown race making up the third largest group. So in 2024, white ethnicity made up 69%, Hispanic was at 16%, unknown was at 5%, just to kind of provide you with some numbers. Next slide. Here we see the year-over-year trends in headcount by race. Looking at the 1-year change, largest increase you can see there is the non-resident alien, as well as followed by the American Indian and Alaskan Native. Again, showing those consistent increases, 6.2%, as we've seen in the previous slide. Next. So we saw a similar chart for headcount. This is looking at that same chart by credit hours earned in 2024. So we saw not only the highest enrollment for headcount, but we also are seeing the highest enrollment for credit hours. Next slide. This slide provides an overview, just like we'd seen previously, of each sector's high school enrollment numbers based on the credit hours. The following slides, again, will provide the institutional data within each sector. For AY 2024, the state universities provided 6.8% of high school enrollments. Washburn, sorry, I was wrong. State universities 4.5%. Washburn was at 1.8%. Community colleges, as you see there, were at 68.2%, with tech colleges at 25.5%. Next slide. The credit hour distribution reflects similar pattern as headcount, with white students accounting for the largest group credit hours, followed by Hispanic and unknown, representing the third largest group. Next slide. Again, here, similar trends as headcount. Again, feel free if you want to dive more into this data to visit KeyStats. Just a plethora of information, as I've mentioned. Next slide. I always think this slide is very interesting. I mean, this is a student success index that's located on KeyStats. And again, you can extract a lot of data here, different menu drop downs, but just really want to direct your attention to KeyStats because it's very customizable. So this includes all students who took a college level course while in high school. The total success rate, the far right, indicates the percentage of students who completed or are still enrolled or retained in higher education 3 years after high school graduation. This also explains why the recent graduation year articulated here in the very bottom is in 2021. There is a lag in this data. If you're interested, again, looking at this further student success index, you can filter quite a few menu options, but this particular chart shows after 3 years, again, there's other options. You can do 1 to 8 years after high school graduation. For 2021, you can see there the success rate for students who took college level courses in high school was 73.7%. So that means those students who took those college courses in high school are being retained somewhere within our system. Next slide. Special thanks to Judd McCormick, DRP. He maintains this data for us. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to him or I, and we will help you with your questions. With that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Misty. Are there any questions for Misty?
I do, Chair Mendoza, if you please. I do have a question for Misty, which I'm sure I could probably find it all on kids, but it's just easier to ask you, Misty. But of the 95% or so credit hours that are generated by two-year colleges for dual enrollment, what percentage of those are Excel and CTE?
Well, that's going to be on the other report, which is posted on our website. I can actually send that to you. It's in a table version, and I think I know you'll get your question answered that way, but I just really want you to see so you can kind of compare. Or I can even share my screen and just show you now, whichever you prefer.
Oh, you can just send it to me. I was just curious, what percentage of those were, because, obviously the 4 years don't do Excel and CTE, but I was curious what the percentage of that, was compared to, for instance, concurrent and other types of dual enrollment of that 95% of those credit hours that are generated by those two-year institutions. So.
Yes, the Excel and CTE, as far as headcount, they saw a 6.4% system-wide increase in headcount. So again, seeing those increases. I will also post a link to the report in the chat for you.
I really appreciate the slide that you like too, and that is, I think it really reflects how important concurrent is when 73%, almost 74% of students that took concurrent are retained in our system. I think that's excellent information.
Any other questions for Misty? Okay. I was just as excited to see that data, Misty, where the number of students is increasing. That's promising. And, as we explore ways to make the first 15 more affordable and accessible to students, I can only anticipate that would continue to climb. So thank you so much for that detailed report. Hey, are there any other items to come before the committee this morning? Okay, as a reminder, our next BASC meeting will be on May 14th. And if there aren't any other questions to come before the committee, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I can move.
Okay. I have a second. I would second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Sorry, I got off my Zoom looking at the information that Misty sent me. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay. All right. So with that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for everything.